PlayStation Classic being released, everyone is swimming in waves of nostalgia, looking back to the past of gaming. But you know what? We're not going to do that. We're actually going to look at some of the seminal titles on this particular console and how they influenced modern day games. You know, games like Metal Gear Solid, you might have heard of Grand Theft Auto or Final Fantasy VII, or the world-beating, game-changing, earth-shattering Jumping Flash.
1994 was a new dawn in the world of video gaming. The Sony PlayStation was released. It wasn't the first CD-based system, but Sony was renowned for making high-end tech. And so this console was less like your typical games machine and more like a lifestyle product. The PlayStation also had great software in spades. Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, Gran Turismo. They all appeared on or originated on the PlayStation. They all flourished, and so did dozens of other popular franchises that are still around today. Modern blockbusters like Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Uncharted 4 and Spider-Man have all undoubtedly been influenced by the PlayStation in terms of storytelling and technology. It helped create the world of gaming that we know today.
I'm here with Alice Liguori and we are about to dive into the PlayStation Classic games because you've never played any of them.
I was really young when it came out.
So I'm presuming you've heard of Red Dead Redemption
Maybe. It's
2.
on like every bus that I ever walk past.
Yeah, so we're about to play a game that's kind of like the great uncle of Red Dead Redemption 2. It is the original Grand Theft Auto.
I was 4 when this came out.
Oh my God. I thought we'd go like super retro because it's all very well giving you like the PlayStation Classic, but I really want you to feel how shoddy the hardware was originally.
Great.
So we're doing it on the original PlayStation.
Good.
Here we go.
Whoa, this is, oh God, what is, right, okay, this is, whoa. Okay, I'm gonna have to change the controls. Can you change the controls around?
I don't know if in the past you're allowed to. I think you just have to suck it. There are more similarities in terms of like the structure of like the loop. You know, you're kind of going around, you get to a payphone, you like get given a mission, you get in a car and then you go to it. So that part, I guess, is similar.
Yeah, it does feel like a GTA game. I can see the open world aspect of it all and the fact that you kind of can just be left to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Like, which is quite good in this because I can't do what I'm meant to be doing.
Oh, did you just get run over?
I think the amount of freedom that GTA offers on the PlayStation 1 was utterly mind-blowing at the time.
You could do the missions, or you could just muck about, shoot people, and try and get a high score.
As you progress through the story, you got to travel to new areas, find new things, new cars, and basically new ways to blow them up.
I remember being totally blown away by how far I could go and how many roads I could drive down and how many streets I could run down.
GTA gave a realism we hadn't really seen before. It was a place we could almost recognise.
There were space open world games and fantasy open world games, but there was nothing that just took you and put you in a realistic feeling, authentic feeling city.
Whoa, this is more like it.
There you go. Don't go in the water! If you ever try and ask anyone to kind of explain the story of what Metal Gear Solid is, it's almost an impossible task. That's a submarine, in case you're not, can't really tell.
Okay.
It looked like a potato.
It did look like a potato.
So I think one of the things, like right from the get-go, just from watching that kind of opening cutscene, is that you can see that they were clearly trying to, you know, borrow from cinema. You can see how we've got to the point where we have Naughty Dog games.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because of this.
Yeah, that was even letterboxed and stuff, wasn't it? Like cinema.
Metal Gear Solid was created by a huge movie nerd. And this was him saying, I've watched hundreds of action movies and now I want to make them as a video game. So Metal Gear Solid uses things like full voice acting absolutely everywhere in the game. And they're convincing performances for the time as well. A time when voice acting was usually terrible. These are good actors doing a good job.
I think at any time, any place, people can fall in love with each other.
You know, you think about Metal Gear Solid, you think of Solid Snake. The character is so memorable. And then you think about adventure games which are more current and characters like Nathan Drake and stuff. I think a lot of that has taken inspiration from the iconic character that was Solid Snake.
So as you like Hitman, why didn't you try and apply that same logic and strategy? Just go in completely green to this game and see if you can just play it like Hitman.
Okay.
Yeah, and see how far you do.
Metal Gear Solid was considered the birth of the stealth tactical genre.
When I started getting into games journalism and writing about games, I started to realise really quickly that we have these little cues that we use to kind of mean certain things. So instead of describing a whole stealth system, people will say, oh, you know, like Metal Gear Solid.
You could say that nearly every game that has stealth in it as a gameplay element has come down from Metal Gear Solid, from recent releases like Hitman 2 to other great huge franchises like Assassin's Creed.
I think there isn't an action-adventure game out now that actually doesn't owe something to Metal Gear Solid and its presentation and its attitude.
It's just quite a daunting thing to play like an old game and come fresh to it. So I just played it like I would a modern game, and it was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, that's just something, you know, certainly for like the systems and the mechanics within the game that you can then just sort of apply a modern day strategy to it and it still works.
Yeah.
That opening music means nothing to you, does it? You're dead inside.
That's so harsh.
Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear Solid are similar in that they're both games that try to bring the best of cinema into video games.
Final Fantasy VII wasn't the first game to use FMV, full motion video, but it's certainly the one people remember the most.
Look at that.
That's pretty cool.
Pulls you all the way out of the city.
I like that a lot.
Straight away, you're kind of like, what is this place? Like, the street level looks really interesting. It's kind of like a world that I'd like to go into and know more about. Look at that. Like, remembering that obviously games are for kids, you know, up until around this era. That kind of level of cinematics had just not happened before. We take it for granted now that we have this kind of seamless blend between gameplay and cutscenes.
Old games did used to have like either like a cut to black or like a just complete clean cut.
From a lot of these, you can see there's direct lines between modern games and games from before. There's like almost like direct routes, and you can see everything's kind of built on everything else. You know, from things like, you know, Call of Duty, Black Ops, like all the way back to Medal of Honor and Uncharted 4 to Crash Bandicoot. You can literally see almost like the through line.
Yeah, for sure. It's not even influenced, it's like literally has been carried forwards. It's been upgraded and updated with like obviously new technologies and stuff, but it's pretty much exactly the same.
So now we're going to move on to obviously the biggest title that we have within the PlayStation Classic, which is Jumping Flash, which you've obviously heard of.
Yeah. Before today, yeah.
I've never heard of Jumping Flash.
Jumping Flash.
Oh,
whoa.
That's fast.
Oh, that
Oh,
is.
that's a...
Oh!
Okay, that's a frog.
What if I was to tell you this is one of the first ever games where you were basically jumping within a 3D environment and being able to like jump forwards like this? You think? That's quite big, right?
That is pretty big, yeah.
I mean, it sounds
but
stupid.
It's really basic now. Like, it's just normal.
My first 3D platform was probably what a lot of people's was. It was Super Mario 64.
Sadly for Jumping Flash, it came in at the start of the PlayStation generation. It got overshadowed by some of the more incredible 3D games, especially platformers that came afterwards.
You're not like struggling to play it because it's got mechanics and like a design of it that makes sense to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like everything else I've played. You run forwards and you jump over things, and it's just normal.
The reason why you know how to play this is because this was the kind of grandfather of games of this time. Now you might think things like the PlayStation Classic are all about nostalgia, but it's not really about that. What it is about history. It's about understanding and learning where the thing you love comes from. In the same way, if you love cinema, you watch old movies, you know, you listen to music, you want to find out where Kanye West samples come from, you go backwards, you look back to fully understand where we are now and how we've gotten to here. And as a gamer, these little consoles, these little dips into the world of the past can really show you exactly how and where your passion came from and how it came to be.